On medium wave 450.5 meters corresponding to 666 kilohertz, you are tuned into the Rajdhani channel of All India Radio. The time by the studio clock is 50 minutes past 5 p.m. Please stand by for the press comments.
This is All India Radio. You will now hear comments from the press. The Indian Express, in its editorial titled Journey into Future, says, from the tiny Palali military airfield where Indian Air Force transporters landed troops of the Indian Peacekeeping Force in the 1980s, on a mission whose failure was foretold, and where later an extremely fragile Sri Lankan Air Force landed Sri Lankan troops to recapture Jaffna Peninsula from the liberation tigers of Tamil Elam, taking back dead and wounded soldiers along with those going home on leave to the shiny new Jaffna International Airport from where civilians will arrive and depart. This transformation has been a long journey in many ways. It is symbolic of the distance Sri Lanka has travelled from war to peace. 10 years after the war ended, the airport at Palali will now connect Jaffna to many places in the world. Through the war years, the Tamil diaspora spread widely across the globe, but the only airport to fly out from all this time was Colombo. The Chinese-built road through the heart of the northern Sri Lanka has eased the road journey from the peninsula to the capital city, and the Jaffna-Colombo train service has been back for 5 years. But for many years, the distance between the two cities to catch a flight was not just long, but filled with the hazards of multiple checkpoints, where packing and unpacking suitcases was considered only the most minor of misfortunes that could befall a traveller, and of having to stay overnight in Colombo lodges that could be raided any time on suspicion that LTTE members were sheltering there. The first civilian flight to land there was from Tamil Nadu. That bilateral relations have changed to a point where Sri Lanka is confident enough to permit transport links between the Tamil-speaking north and Tamil Nadu tells its own story. Sinhalese Buddhism lives in the atavistic fear of an invasion from the north, and the sides taken by Tamil Nadu political parties in the civil war fueled such fears. Sri Lanka turned down Indian financial assistance to redevelop the airport, but the air link will help boost trade, both formal and informal, and travel. Not long ago, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe wanted to build a bridge connecting Sri Lanka and India to bring the island country closer to mainland South Asia. Jaffna International Airport could be that bridge. The Times of India, in its editorial titled Queen of Somersaults, writes, she is a 4'8" giant. Vault, flow, balance team, she is a master of all. Simone Biles returned from the Rio Olympics with 5 medals, 4 of them gold. Last weekend, the American became the most decorated gymnast of any gender in World Championship history with a career tally of 25 medals, 19 of them gold. But forget the numbers. To watch her performance is to feel it in your own body too. For example, everything that she does in the air makes you wonder that the disciplined human body can so push the limits of physics. All her superhuman gymnastics is topped up with a bubbly personality and a super wide smile. So her #MeToo social media post was all the more shocking last year, where Simone admitted to feeling a little bit broken. And around this time it had emerged that USA gymnastics team Dr. Larry Nassar had been sexually abusing hundreds of athletes under his care. Simone was also abused, and afterwards she still had to train at the facility where this happened. She wondered if it was her fault. But of course, only the abuser is to blame, and the sports administration that let him wreak horrors for over 2 decades. They shouldn't have turned a blind eye to the red flags. The Economic Times, in its editorial titled, When Plain Speaking Trumps Diplomatics, writes, there is no reason to believe that US President Donald Trump will ever succumb to any of the practices that protocol demands of his office. He has hired and fired senior administration members with as much alacrity as his time on a reality TV show, and his official and electoral speeches have also not been notable for erudition or sophistication. The Donald clearly does not mince words, and his unfamiliarity with and contempt for diplomats is now legendary. Hence, his recent candid letter to Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan is par for the course, as indeed is its reported binning by the latter. After all, no leader likes to be referred to as a possible devil, not to mention a fool. It also proves, of course, that the US President writes his own letters and does not tolerate editing or any advice to add a few gratuitous diplomatic niceties. More and more world leaders are displaying increasing annoyance with calibrated diplomats, from UK's Boris Johnson and North Korea's Kim Jong-un to Nigeria's Muhammadu Buhari